here tonight to celebrate the year's best movies, and that can make an awards evening feel like the end of something, as if movies are forever tied to the year in which they were released, when we first experienced their magic. But to my mind, a night like this is when movies enter the part of us that can't wait to see them again. And you think critics see more movies than anyone, that's true, but it's more than you realize, because critics, like any rabid movie lover, rewatch their favorites. I mean, I still go back and watch The Sting. I'm sure a lot of people here do. A great story is a great story. Like Anatomy of a Fall, a multiple winner here tonight. A movie I've already returned to once and will again because I love complications, I love puzzles. Thanks to the incredible editing of Laurent Sénéchal, who is our editing winner tonight. I'll return to it for its exquisitely squirmy depiction of a relationship as the ultimate mystery to solve and one of the scariest things to put on trial. I know more than a handful of people in this room have seen The Zone of Interest multiple times, so thank you, Jonathan Glazer, production designer Chris Oddie, producer Jim Wilson, and our sound music co-winner Johnny Byrne tonight. Because sometimes the hardest movies to experience demand that we go back to them, whether to appreciate the filmmaking rigor or to find new details, extra corners of insight, connection and truth we missed. In the years ahead, how can one not go back to Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron, to marvel at what a last bow looks like from a master filmmaker? And you certainly don't reach the levels of success that Barbie's achieved without repeat viewings. And Sarah Greenwood's dazzling production design is a huge draw there. Tonight we honor two movies themselves that address needing to return to a feeling that meant something to us. All of Us Strangers, written and directed by Andrew Haigh. That's going straight into the bank of future Need a Good Cry rewatches. So thank you, Andrew, for your beautiful, heartbreaking fantasy of love extended. And I've also re-listened to 80s songs because of that movie. So, Celine Song. With Past Lives, you made indelibly poignant art out of the remembering that everyone, and immigrants specifically, grapple with. The change in us affects rewatching too, and that goes for our relationship with movies. I mean, who will I be when I watch your film next? I'll be someone different. But I will say this, I don't know if I can rewatch Frederick Wiseman's gorgeous, indulgent French restaurant documentary, Menu Plaisir Les Trois Gros. I mean, when I'm hungry, I can't watch it, right? I mean, when we want that repeat hit from a beloved movie, though, it's often because the work of the actors gets right inside us to take up residence. We're honoring 4 women tonight who have done that. The great Sandra Hüller twice in 1 year. And Rachel McAdams with a role that helped remind Judy Blume fans everywhere how much they loved the author. Davine Joy Randolph, still counting how many emotions I felt and how many emotions were given in that Christmas party scene in The Holdovers. I could watch just that scene again and again to see what a public retreat into private grief looks like, and also what horrible Christmas parties can feel like. Someone who's been reliably adding to our repeat viewing queues for years now is Emma Stone. But in Poor Things, this is like next level status. I will watch her Bella Baxter again for the same reason I go back to silent era comedians, technique and soul, plucky naivete, and a cruel flair for the belly laugh in perfect harmony. We're so glad Emma's here tonight, and I need to mention how excited we are for the appearance of 2 other awardees who have traversed an ocean to be here. One of the most important Chinese filmmakers today, Wang Bing. Our Douglas Edwards experimental film winner is with us. Thank you for making the trip from Paris to be here. And also all the way from Paris, our gifted Vital Career Achievement winner, Agnieszka Holland. And presenting a tour tonight, another special guest, Ed Harris. We are truly thrilled to honor you tonight, Agnieszka, especially because you're proof that there is no stopping at a Career Achievement Award. Your new film, Green Border, which will be released this coming summer, is such a powerful dispatch from the front lines of Eastern Europe's refugee crisis. It would not surprise me if you weren't here again next year. And that is a case of revisiting I can easily get behind. Putting on these awards is no small task, but it is made infinitely more manageable and pleasurable with the band of colleagues I work with. And since I just called ourselves a band, on lead guitar, Katie Walsh. An invaluable teammate, whether soloing with style or grooving with the rest of us. I can't imagine having done this without you. On keyboards, because he's always writing great stuff, my partner in punnery, Justin Chang. And on drums, because she keeps us all in time with rock-solid precision, the incomparable Anne-Lee Ellingson. And I also need to thank Lael Lowenstein and Jordan Kronk, and my lovely wife, Margie Rocklin. And because you're all about to do some rewatching yourselves tonight with a beautiful montage of our winning films, thank you, Ryan Swen, for all the hard work you did in putting it together. So enjoy your meal, the delicious wine being poured courtesy of the great people at Avaline, and let this video whet your appetite for our winners, and we'll get this celebration rolling. Thank you.
To the real world.
Can't believe you're still there. Okay. Okay.
Don't touch that goddamn record.
Hey, wait, hey, Mary, come on, just sit down.
Oh, I'm okay.
All right.
No, Diddy, I'm okay.
I know, please.
Okay, but I said I'm okay.
And I'll be fine in the summer. But then I gotta have you to cuddle up to when winter comes.
Go get me another drink.
Ce corps qu'elle avait aimé et qui devenait gênant devait disparaître.
Je contextualise puisque vous ne le faites pas. Alors ce passage est le délire d'un personnage secondaire au bord de la folie qui ne met pas son délire à exécution. Un roman n'est pas la vie, un auteur n'est pas ses personnages.
Oui, mais un auteur peut exprimer ses idées à travers des personnages. Je remarque que vous avez vous-même relevé ce passage. Comment ne pas rapprocher ça?
Si vous voulez, je peux vous lire tout Stephen King pour vous prouver que c'est un serial killer.
Mais est-ce que la femme de Stephen King a été retrouvée morte chez lui dans des circonstances plus que douteuses?
Concentrez-vous sur les circonstances.
Maître
Faites votre
Renzi,
métier.
je vous conseille fortement de vous calmer. Monsieur l'avocat général, je vous conseille de suivre le premier conseil de Maître Renzi. Concentrez-vous sur les circonstances.
Mesdames, Messieurs, j'ai 2 couverts qui passent, 2 grands menus, c'est VIP, s'il vous plaît. Derrière, 2 couverts qui passent avec des menus faits, ça sera 2 petits menus sans asperges.
Oui. Par contre, là, ça manque pas de sel, là. Là, ça manquait un peu. Là, ça manque, mais pas là. Vous voyez là-bas?
On les réassaisonne tout à la minute.
Là, ça manque. Il y a des niveaux de sel très différents entre l'un et l'autre.
What is it that you do?
I'm a writer.
And what did I tell you?
No, I'm not particularly rich or anything. Not really.
No, I always knew you'd be creative. Oh. Oh. What kind of writer are you? You know how I love Stephen King, Carrie, Cujo, different seasons.
No, I'm not a proper writer. I write scripts for film, TV, when I have to.
A writer. God, this is so bloody exciting. If I knew the neighbours, I'd run over and I'd tell them right now.
I've always said that writers know less about the real world than almost anyone else.
What the hell would you know?
Wir leben jetzt so, wie wir uns das immer erträumt haben. Es ist sogar, also seit wir 17 sind, besser, als wir uns das erträumt haben. Endlich raus aus der Stadt. Wir haben alles, was wir wollen, direkt vor unserer Haustür. Unsere Kinder, die sind gesund, die sind kräftig, die sind glücklich.
He should
feel that it's his best life because it's the only life he's got. It is his own. He reads books. He goes on social media like any other kid. He plays the piano. He dreams. He cries. He laughs. He's a very lively kid. He's okay. Yeah.
You've always said you're the best bedman in the world, and I've never known another, so knew not whether this was true. But now I do. And he was terrible, and made ungodly noises as he thrust himself into me. And a mere 3 thrusts, Duncan Wedderburn, was all he could manage. So I stifled a laugh, out of polite, of course. I took his money, I thanked him, I laughed all the way to buy his visa prayers, and I thought so fondly, remembering the fierce, sweaty nights of ours.
You fucked for money.
And as an experiment,
와, 너다.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Walsh. I'm the... Thank you. I'm a film critic for the Tribune News Service and the LA Times, and I'm also the vice president of LAFCA. It's my first year doing this after the incredible 14-year tenure of Tim Grierson, and I could not do this without him. He literally taught me math, so that was helpful. I'm so thrilled to be here tonight celebrating all of our winners in person, and I'm so honored that you're all here. So thank you all for being here. I'm truly, it takes a lot of work to put this on, and just to have you all here is a real treat. So please have fun, because that is the most important thing. But the other most important thing is we are giving some awards to some of our favorite filmmakers and actors and people who make this job as amazing as it is. So I am thrilled to present an award to one of my favorite films of the year, Poor Things, to its producer and star, Emma Stone, for her performance as the unforgettable Bella Baxter. In Poor Things, Bella may have been brought to life by her father figure Godwin, but as a person, she is entirely her own creation, and her embodiment is Stone's most audacious and masterly performance yet. Stone astonishingly captures Bella's growth imperceptibly over time, which is reflected in the evolving cinematography by one of our other winners, Robbie Ryan. And she pursues adventure purely in the name of pleasure and experimentation, of course. She embarks on a journey of self-actualization through hedonistic exploration, and we get to go along for the ride. I truly believe there is no other actor but Emma Stone who could convincingly convey such simultaneous expressions of sincerity, absurdity, intelligence, libidinousness, humor, curiosity, and anguish as she learns about the world. Bella is her own woman and no man's at all. She is a character both outlandish and aspirational, and while we already knew she was a star, This performance firmly establishes Emma Stone as one of the preeminent actors of a generation. It's my honor to present the LAFCA Award for Best Lead Performance to Emma Stone.
Thank you, Katie. Hold on, I have to unlock my phone. Even though I printed this out, but I forgot to bring the paper. Thank you for that. That was so lovely. No, look, it just stays right. It's perfect. I'm so honored to be here tonight and to be sharing this category with Sandra Huller, who is a true goddess and a genius and a brilliant actor. So this is pretty insane to me. The film that I'm here for tonight, Poor Things, was many years in the making, and it is very surreal that Bella is out wandering the world now. This character changed and shaped some fundamental parts of me for the better, I hope. She opened my eyes to aspects of life in a brand new way, and while it's always hard for me to talk about acting, so to speak, I am so grateful that I get to do this as a job and to play and explore and experience things that I never would have otherwise. It's a huge gift. The three men who shaped facets of Bella's life experience, Godwin, Duncan, and Max, were also brought to life by three brilliant men in Alistair Gray, Tony McNamara, and Yorgos Lanthimos. It is not lost on me that the story of a woman inventing her own path was in many ways shaped by these men. But much like Bella, getting to produce this film and create my version of her was deeply respected and championed by Tony and by Yorgos. And I'm forever grateful to them for the opportunity to live in her strange, beautiful shoes. So while I've been trying my best to channel Bella's immunity to external opinions or expectations, I will always appreciate the role of film critics in our business and your impact on our art. So thank you to the LA film critics for this truly lovely honor. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Hi there, I'm Stephen Farber, also a past president of LAFCA. I'm here tonight to present our award for Best Editing. As you all know, this has been a year of very long movies. Killers of the Flower Moon, Occupied City, Beau is Afraid, Oppenheimer. Now, I happen to be a fan of some long movies, very long movies of the past, Lawrence of Arabia, Giant, The Sorrow and the Pity, Godfather Part 2, but I think you'll agree that it takes skill to keep us engrossed during a 3-hour-plus film, and film editors have a lot to do with that. Placed against some of those other films of past and present, Anatomy of a Fall is a relatively modest offering, clocking in at just 151 minutes. Still, that is definitely above the average length of a feature film. And yet, I would suggest there is not a wasted or excessive minute in this compelling chronicle of a mysterious accident and the trial that follows. That accomplishment certainly owes something to the skill of the director, Justine Triet, and her marvelous actors, including our award winner, Sandra Hüller. But Anatomy's editor, Laurent Sénéchal, clearly made a major contribution in the tight pacing of a film where there is very little time to catch your breath as the complex, twisty story unfolds. Flashbacks are interwoven masterfully, clues are dropped, and all the characters register forcefully thanks to the editor's finesse. LAFCA is therefore pleased to present our award for Best Editing of 2023 to Laurent Sénéchal.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It's amazing to hear that. Thank you. Here. Good evening, everybody. From the great Thelma Schoonmaker to Jennifer Lame or Jonathan Albert, I'm so deeply impressed with the work of my colleagues that today hearing that, standing here is more than an honor. It's like I'm in a joke or something like that. So maybe I'm in, maybe I'm in the Truman Show and Ed Harris is looking at me. I don't know. I don't have enough words to thank, of course, Justine Triet. She's an amazing woman, person, and director. For her trust, her instinct, and her incredible relationship with the actors and the acting. She's really talented and instinctive. I have to stop because she's so talented. I also want to thank Arthur Harari, not only because of the script, he also had an invaluable insight and help during the editing process. And at one point there were 3 of us working together, and there was all these ideas coming in every direction. And I'm glad that the producers had been renting an editing room with a window, but on the ground floor, because it was sometimes really hot. But it was great to do that with them. I also thank the producers, Marie-Ange Luciani and David Thion, because of for their sensibility and support. They were really great. They really know how editing can bring things to a movie. I have to thank my team also, of course, Cécile, Guillaume, Nina, Magali and Leo. They were really great. I have to thank also Le Pacte, the French distribution company. They were great. They were supporting us from the first reading. And also MK2 for the international sales. And of course Neon for all they are doing here in America. I would like to have a word about critics, because I really like critics, and I think even more tonight, of course. But it's true. I love critics, and I think that's because we are sharing, I think, the same passion and the same irrepressible taste for lifting the hood of stories and trying to discover the engine of it, how it works, turning around and define it. This is something we are sharing. And for us editors, after having spent so many months around a movie, it's really great to see through someone else's pen new angles and new understandings and even more extensions, such as tonight. you are, thank you very much. It's so great for me to hear you. And well, of course, sometimes critics are, I remember, it can be a bit too far I remember. I remember. I don't know if it was a review or an email, but it was a critic writing, and he was saying that Anatomy of a Fall was a highly quantum film. And yeah, it was. I had to read it twice to understand, and I got it. Yeah, it works. It works. But yeah, for a moment, I was thinking that there was a mistake, and maybe like a switch. You know, maybe he has seen Anatomy of Oppenheimer, and yeah, for me it was. At the beginning, it was really tricky to read that, but yeah, most often I really like to read critics, and I'm very honored to be there tonight from the bottom of my heart. Really, thanks to the Los Angeles Film Critics Awards. I'm really glad. Thank you very much. You're like angels tonight.
Hi, Barbie. Hi, Kens. Thank you for indulging me. I'm Courtney Howard, and I am a member of LAFCA, and I'm here to present our award for Best Production Design to Barbie's Sarah Greenwood, who, fun fact, was working on top of an active volcano in Italy when she got the call to come join Barbie's team. This incredibly talented designer built an immersive fantasy world filled with dream houses, scaled-down automobiles, and plastic accoutrements, and asked audiences to come and play inside her creative imagination. Her vision of the vibrantly pink utopia that is Barbie Land pulls artistic inspiration from decades of architectural styles, eras of Mattel products, and the history of cinema through its homages to filmmakers like Kubrick, Tati, Minnelli, Zeman, and Powell and Pressburger. Greenwood, set decorator Katie Spencer, and their team forged a collaborative partnership with every department to achieve this impeccably balanced aesthetic symbiosis, or what director Greta Gerwig termed authentic artificiality. On top of that, the real-world setting also held key designs, from the Barbified boardroom spoof on Dr. Strangelove to the evocative soft hues in Ruth Handler's cozy kitchen. They say God is in the details, but I believe it's Sarah Greenwood's spirit that inhabits every intricately faceted frame of this film. Unfortunately, she could not be with us this evening. However, she did send along her acceptance speech, which I'll read right now. Thank you, Los Angeles Film Critics Association, for this amazing award, which I accept on behalf of Barbie and all the incredible team that made this amazing pink world come to life. It is such an honor to be so regarded by such an esteemed group of critics and to be considered alongside such amazing works as this year's films and filmmakers. Thank you again. Such a shame not to be with you. Have a great evening, and congratulations all.
Good evening. I'm Charles Solomon, and I'm here. I didn't know Mom still had people out there. I'm here to present the award for Best Animation to Hayao Miyazaki, who was talking about retiring when I first met him 25 years ago. The Japanese film that English speakers know as The Boy and the Heron, Kimitachi wa Do Ikuruka, or How Do You Live, takes its title from a popular 1937 novel by Genzaburo Yoshino. Both works focus on young men learning courage and integrity through trials, but Junichi Copper Hondo learns from these essay-like letters he exchanges with his maternal uncle. Mahito Maki learns through the Baroque fantasies spawned in the violent world of 1944's Japan. Miyazaki understands, probably better than any other contemporary artist, that animation is a visual medium. He illustrates Mahito's journey with far less dialogue than his American counterparts and dazzling visuals. Like all heroes, Mahito is tested. He learns from his mistakes to become a brave and caring young man. Miyazaki has said the film was a gift to his grandson. Lines on paper used skillfully in the service of a story still have the power to move us in an era of CG. Decades from now, audiences watching this film will still be moved by Mahito's trials and still dazzled by Miyazaki's unmatched ability to create fantasies that take us beyond our own imaginations. I'm delighted to present the LAFCA Award for Best Animated Feature to The Boy and the Heron. And we have video from Miyazaki's producer and the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, Toshio Suzuki-san.
スタジオジブリの鈴木敏夫です。君たちはどう生きるかの、プロデューサーをやりました。ロサンゼルス映画評価協会賞、最優秀アニメーション賞をいただき、本当に嬉しく思っております。宮崎駿もこの賞のことを聞いて、アメリカの人に見てもらえて本当に嬉しいなと言ってました。どうも本当にありがとうございました。
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Rothkopf, film editor at the LA Times. That's nice. I am presenting the award tonight for Best Music/Score. First, though, I hope you'll pardon just the briefest of a personal tangent. Unlike many of you, most of you really in this room, my wife Christine and I, we came to LA pretty recently. We've only been here 2 years. And just to see so many of you, friends, colleagues, tonight in this room, it's just very moving to us. So thank you for everyone, the welcome we've had. That's very kind. I'm the junior member of LAFCA, actually. I'm new to the organization, but Christine and I remember many years of dinners at the New York Film Critics Circle dinner, where there's only really one cardinal rule, and that's keep the film critics far away from the microphone. Direct the film critics to the food. Never get in the way of a film critic and a free meal. But up at the podium, never. So this is kind of different for me, actually. But I'm very glad to be presenting an award for music because the achievements of tonight's honoree kind of transcend words. Words I think are insufficient. I'm going to do my best. Simply put, when it comes to film scoring, there's before Mika Levy and there's after Mika Levy. We're talking about a transformational, once-in-a-generation artist, a composer whose palette and whose style is so unique, so identifiable, it's possible to pick out a Mika Levy score with your eyes closed. As I understand, their process of scoring is very intuitive. It's not driven by images, not responding to visual cues, but there's an emotional boldness, an intellect that indicates a true sense of purpose. Mika Levy first worked with Jonathan Glazer on 2013's Under the Skin. That's a movie that also won this award. The Zone of Interest represents an apotheosis of a decade of work, of searching. In the sounds that we hear in Zone, we hear banality, we hear devolution, we hear something strange, something not right. And then over the movie's end credits, you hear a noise that just can't be unheard. Is it a wail? Is it a shriek? It's the breaking of something foundational. Speaking to the Los Angeles Times, Mika called those sounds forevery primordial. Unusually for our group tonight, we're also recognizing in conjunction with Mika Levy the work of sound designer Johnny Byrne, whose soundscape is, in a lot of ways, the most haunting aspect of Zone of Interest. I choose the word haunting carefully, especially in its connection to the idea of hauntology, of evoking a cultural memory with modern day tools. Byrne creates the screams, the gunshots, the barking orders. These are things that we know must have been constant, but he also adds this low rumble. Oh, excuse me. It's like an undercarpet that is so rarely remarked upon. Auschwitz was a place of death where the fires raged nonstop. Unfortunately, Mika Levy could not be here tonight to accept this award, but it's my personal great honor to present the Los Angeles Film Critics Award Prize for Best Music Score, and this year, Sound, to Zone's sound designer, Johnny Byrne.
Good evening. I am Byrne, the sound designer, and yeah, I mean it's an honor to be here for Mika, and thank you very much to LAFCA. And I don't know if you've seen Zone, but it kind of feels like I've made a career out of making a dark droning sound and then finding a way to cleverly segue that into Mika's incredible work. So let me do that one more time. This is what Mika said. Hello. Thank you kindly. Thank you to Jim, Paul, Bridget, Johnny, and John, who inspires me endlessly and whom I love very much. It's an honor to share this with Johnny. Yes. Who's, thank goodness, whose remarkable work I'm in awe of. I want to say thank you for this award, and also ceasefire now. So that was it, and that's short, like the music in Zone. So back to the drone, I'll fill in. When John initially told me we were going to depict the horrors of the Holocaust purely through sound, I thought that would be difficult, and I thought you were nuts, and I felt like running away, to be honest. And that brings me to my special mention. Thank you, John. I mean, thank you to Brendan and Max and Simon and Mika and Bridget and Paul and Chris and A24, and what a journey, and all of your support. But John, thank you. You're a gentleman and a genius, and I think you've profoundly influenced all of us who have worked with you. So if I'm up here, you should be up here too. So just want to say thank you very much to LAFCA, and thank you. And on behalf of Mika, thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Rayner. So what does the following have in common? Zoo, primate, high school, basic training, welfare. They're all one or two words. Fred Wiseman's nonfiction documentary winner, Menu Plaisir les Trois Gras, is 4 words. It's the longest title he's ever had in a film, and it's a 4-hour movie. And 90 seconds to introduce a 4-hour movie is a bit much, because a 4-hour presentation would not be enough for this film. About Fred Wiseman's career, LAFCA has had already something to say. Of course, 11 years ago, we gave Wiseman our Lifetime Achievement Award. Joe Morgenstern and I stood at the podium and presented it to him in person. In the intervening years, Fred has directed 7 more movies and edited them too. He has been directing movies since Titicut Follies in 1967, some 47 movies in all, and I'm not alone in thinking that he is perhaps our greatest living filmmaker, with a body of work that encompasses the full range of human emotion. His movies are ostensibly about how institutions operate, but what unfolds within his narratives has a richness and a fervor that any major novelist would covet. Menu Plaisir, Les Trois Gras chronicles the daily operation of a Michelin-starred restaurant in the Loire Valley. By the way, we tried to get them to cater tonight's dinner for free, but as you can see, that didn't work out. Because of its subject matter, the film, which is one of Wiseman's most accessible, will no doubt appeal to foodies, but it's so much more than a foodie film. It's about a family, about the passing of a torch, about the dazzle and sweat that comes with the perfectionism in all its forms. The film, for me, also carries a tremendous poignancy. The culinary arts are shown to be a stand-in for life itself, for its transience. Masterpieces are created only to be consumed. It's all a beautiful, sensual, vanishing act. But this vanishing act, this movie, will endure. So I'd like to now bring onto the stage to accept the award for Fred Wiseman, his close friend and colleague, the distinguished film producer and educator, Steve Ulacki. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, members of the LA Film Critics Society and honorees. It's an honor to be representing Fred Wiseman tonight. I saw Fred in Paris several weeks ago, and he apologized for not being able to come to LA to receive the award, but he said it was going to be too long of a trip for him. He is of a certain age, which we will not get into. He has asked me to thank the Trois Gras family for allowing him to film them, and also to thank PBS for their continuing support of his work. For those of you who are hoping to catch up with Fred, he will be coming to Los Angeles on February 10th to 12th for the PBS season announcements. I feel a certain burden about speaking on his behalf. If Fred were here, he'd have us all laughing out loud throughout his speech. Those of you who know him and who have heard him are aware of the fact that he would have had a great success as a stand-up comedian had he not chosen a more serious métier. Instead, he puts his humor into the films, but it's more subtle. I first met Fred in the early 1970s in Boston when I was teaching at Brandeis. By the way, Peter Rayner was in the Super 8 class that I was teaching at the time, so I met Peter over 50 years ago. Fred at that time had his offices at 54 Lewis Wharf, Boston Harbor, and I went to see if he would be willing to participate in a documentary symposium on the Brandeis campus. The idea was to bring left doc filmmakers from the 40s and 50s, Leo Hurwitz, people like that, Paul Strand, to meet current socially committed doc filmmakers who were making films against the Vietnam War. It was basically old left meets new left, the idea. Fred hated the idea. The last thing he wanted was to be labeled or to be part of any group. And I was disappointed he wouldn't participate, but I understood. 30 years later, in the early 2000s, I was the head of the film department at San Francisco State, and managed to get a very large donation from an alumnus by proposing the creation of the Documentary Film Institute. This came about because his daughter had looked online and reported to her father that it would be the only doc film institute in existence. I had made up the title, Doc Film Institute. However, her father was very pleased. He was a real estate magnate, and we got $3 million. With Tom Luddy, my great companion, yes, with Tom Luddy as my great companion and chief curator, who knew everybody, we set about honoring the great documentary filmmakers, Leacock, Pennebaker, Ken Burns, and of course, Fred Wiseman. When I spoke to Fred about the idea, he was skeptical. Of course, if you know Fred, there's a constant through line there. But when I mentioned that we wanted to tackle one of the greatest problems that we face today, media literacy, or some people call it visual literacy, he lit up. He wanted to come and speak about that. He was passionate about dealing with the dilemma that most people, not just young people, don't read that much anymore and get most of their information audiovisually. The problem is they don't know how to read audiovisually. They don't understand how they're being influenced. They don't understand the different tricks that are employed. And they are functionally illiterate, which is one of the reasons the world is in the shape it's in now, especially in this country. And that was 20 years ago. Of course, it's only gotten worse for all the new stuff that's possible. Anyway, Fred showed up. He was brilliant. He showed clips from his films, and he talked about how he could influence viewer reactions to the subject matter simply through his choice of shots and by moving one shot in front of another shot and all the stuff that editors and people who know or filmmakers know about, but the average person doesn't know about. So that's one of the purposes of what Fred believed in, was to educate people how to read film. Anyway, it was a master class in teaching literacy, and while doing this, he kept up a steady patter that was hysterical. He was incredibly amusing, droll, witty, you name it. He had a great attitude toward what he did, which was that he greatly believed in it, but at the same time, he never took himself seriously. So we were both informed and entertained. Which brings me to the Menu Plaisir, Les Trois Rois, the film you're honoring. I consider it a masterpiece. The French call it a chef-d'oeuvre. It presents a unified view of a world where everything is supervised and controlled by the master chef, so they try to control. The ingredients of each dish are carefully researched and sourced before becoming part of a menu and part of somebody's meal. I told Fred in Paris several weeks ago over dinner that I felt the film was a beautiful metaphor of the artist and the process of creation. And he said, yeah, he hoped people would get that. I would be less than honest if I didn't say that I love Fred, not just as a filmmaker, but as a human being, and I'm deeply honored to be accepting the award on his behalf. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ann Lee Ellingson. I have the honor of presenting the LAFCA Ruth Batchelor Scholarship, generously supported by Rotten Tomatoes. Woo! Since 2017, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association has aimed to encourage and support aspiring film critics with a scholarship named for our founder, Ruth Batchelor. What started as an initiative internal initiative to help increase the number of women in our field has grown into a partnership with Rotten Tomatoes that includes critics from underrepresented groups. We now present 2 scholarships each year. Plus, and this is what I'm always most excited about, our scholarship winners also get Voodoo gift cards. Thanks so much, Rotten Tomatoes, for your ongoing support. Let's meet our 2023 winners. Andy Fang is majoring in film studies at Santa Monica College. He was raised on the movies of both Wong Kar-wai and Paul Thomas Anderson, which firmly solidified his passion for cinema. Reading the works of critics from diverse backgrounds, such as our own Justin Chang, also inspired him to write about his own thoughts on movies. He aspires to continue writing and being a small part of the communion among film lovers that film criticism can help foster. Andy's reviews are well-versed in cinematic history and language while engaging with familiar material in a fresh, urgently personal way. From his cover letter, growing up, cultural authority never felt like it belonged to people who looked like me or had a similar background to mine. We were lucky and grateful enough to see representation on screen on the few occasions it happened, but it was just as rare, if not even more so, to see that representation in the writers and film scholars who digest and chronicle their responses to the films to the general public. Our second scholarship winner is Veronica Hernandez, a film student at Los Angeles City College working to diversify and recreate the film industry and film journalism world. Her creative philosophy relies on learning from the past to build the future. So studying film and film history closely is of paramount importance to her. Her passion for film criticism allows her to voice her unique perspective, which is rooted in a genuine love for cinema and its history. Some of the richly researched writing that Veronica shared with us probes the nooks and crannies of the history of Black cinema. I, for one, can't wait for her to finish Afro Vamps, her video essay exploring Black vampirism in film. From Veronica's cover letter, to me, film criticism is an act of creation. I aspire to usher forth a new Black Hollywood. I imagine a world where filmmakers, writers, actors, and crew who look like me are fully empowered to tell stories about our lives, loves, and fears. Every time I sit down to type or put pen to paper, that world becomes more tangible. Congratulations, Andy and Veronica.
Hi, everyone. I guess, in the wise words of Nicole Kidman before every AMC screening, in movies, our heroes feel like the best part of us, and stories feel perfect and powerful. And while a large part of the power of movies is the ability to create connection and empathy between people from all walks of life, it's incredibly inspiring to see Asian American heroes and the Asian American perspective, both on the screen and in discourse surrounding the film. That's why it's especially humbling tonight to be in a room with critics like Justin Chang and filmmakers like Celine Song. Thank you to LA Film Critics Association for this opportunity, as well as Rotten Tomatoes. And a special thanks to Ann Lee for all her work in making this happen.
I'm so honored to be here tonight in this room of incredibly talented people, and I'd like to thank the LAFCA Scholarship Committee, especially Ann Lee, and the crew at Rotten Tomatoes for seeing something in me that makes me part of this incredible and talented room. The scholarship made to highlight the achievements of underrepresented film critics of the world is particularly important to me because my love for film and its history can sometimes be a bit difficult. Though the fight for representation is an ongoing one, becoming more powerful each year, it's no secret that there are still ceilings to break through, and I'm honored to accept this award that is aimed to break those ceilings. As much as I'm excited for the future, being the daughter of a history teacher, I know I am nothing without what comes before me. My philosophy is specifically based on a Ghanaian phrase, Sankofa, which is also the title of Halle Germina's 1993 film, and also the title of the coffee shop he owns in DC, where a lot of the work I submitted, I wrote. The phrase Sankofa, a Twi word which means go back and fetch it, which is to say, it is not taboo to go back for what you forgot. When I sit down and write, whether criticism or my own work, of course I remind myself that I have an entire universe of people before me to guide me, many of these people in the room. Incredible critics and writers whose work I study and I hope to honor every time I write a word. So accepting this scholarship is a wonderful honor. And I'd especially like to thank my mom, who's here with me tonight. Yeah! Gloria! I originally went to college saying that I was going to be a lawyer, and when I come home and I tell her, actually, I want to make movies, I want to talk about movies, she was surprisingly very accepting of that, so thank you for that. Not many people are lucky to have a mom who goes and just tells you, but truly believes in your wildest dreams and tells you that if you're going to do something, do it for real. So this is me doing it for real. Thank you, guys.
I'm Jean Oppenheimer, and I'm presenting for Best Cinematography to Robbie Ryan. Colorful, fanciful, fantastical. Poor Things is a portal into another world, a world of demented imagination. Gothic horror meets genteel Victorian London. Part Jules Verne, part Alice in Wonderland, part Frankenstein, all Yorgos Lanthimos, in collaboration with the highly talented, extraordinarily versatile, and supremely self-effacing Irish cinematographer Robbie Ryan. Ryan rose to fame in England for his work with social realist directors such as Ken Loach and Andrea Arnold. Desolate landscapes, misty moors shrouded in fog, rural poverty, and harsh working-class lives. Ryan made 3 films with Sally Potter, 2 with Noah Baumbach, before hooking up with Greek auteur Lanthimos on 2018's The Favorite, a cynical comedy of royal bad manners and misbehavior, bursting with greed, rivalry, power dynamics, and pageantry, captured in wide angles and fisheye lenses. And now, Poor Things, a sublimely surreal comedy and medley of bright colors, textures, madcap ideas, sensational production design, LED skies, and a curious and headstrong heroine. Again, we have wide apertures and fisheye lenses, flares, distortions, deep focus, vignette reminiscent of early photography. Ryan says he prefers shooting on film and operating the camera himself. He got both on Poor Things. Now, Robbie couldn't be here today, but he did send a video.
Good evening, Lafka. How are you? Sorry I can't be there tonight. I'm away in Scotland at the minute making a film up a hill, which is a lot colder than the Hollywood Hills. Thank you very much to Los Angeles Film Critics for this award. It means a heck of a lot to get recognised by Hollywood, so thank you. Appreciate that. I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank my camera team, my lighting team in Budapest and in Hungary, who worked tirelessly to get Poor Things on the screen. Thank you, guys. I'd like to thank Fox Searchlight, Element, and Film 4 for never saying no to giving me lights when I asked for more and more lights. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank the cast, who were so much fun to work with on this film. Emma, Willem, always, every day, you guys were making me laugh, and I can't thank you enough for that. It was a fun, joyous set, which makes a difference. Finally, I'd like to thank Yorgos for trusting in me to, take on quite a big scale film that I would not be so used to. So, full respect to him for trusting in me. Thank you, Yorgos. I think this film award really should be dedicated to Yorgos as well, because he is a cinematographer. It's his vision. Poor Things would be nothing if I shot this on my own. It's all about Yorgos. So, full respect to the film he's created, the monster he's created. Thank you, Yorgos. So have a great night, and thank you very, very, very much. Bye-bye.
If I don't take my high heels off, I'm afraid I'll be lurching and teetering like Bella Baxter.
Hello, my name is Ryan Swen. I'm a member of the Douglas Edwards Experimental Independent Film Committee. Thank you very much, thank you. I'm very, very honored to present our award for this year to Wang Bing for his film Youth Spring. Wang Bing, one of the most important and resolutely independent filmmakers of our time, is a documentarian of moments, at once acutely aware at all times of the historical, political, and social context that is enmeshed within his portraits of life within the 20th and 21st century life in his native China. At the same time, he is also dedicated very much to quotidian concerns. His latest masterwork, Youth Spring, weaves a tapestry of such disparities in a procession of low-paying garment shops in the city of Zhili, a prospect of abortion, a testing negotiation over meager wages, a workplace rivalry, and a light-hearted flirtation stand shoulder to shoulder, as Wang recognizes that what may seem insignificant can mean the world to those directly experiencing it. Without denying harsh and grueling nature of his settings, he finds new ways of seeing and observing, all with a watchful eye and generous spirit. And we felt that in our committee that while experimental independence, they stand very much shoulder to shoulder. They stand very much in contrast to many other films that may dominate the awards landscape. We feel that Wang's films exemplify something very vital, very beautiful within the film landscape that must be celebrated. And we are very honored to honor his films. So, Wang 导演，我们都很荣幸能给你这个奖，谢谢。
非常抱歉，因为我不讲英文。
I really apologize that my English is not good.
非常开心，我第一次在美国拿到了这样一个我电影的第一个奖。
I am really happy to receive my first award in the United States.
那么在过去的我大概有20年的这个纪录片的这个工作当中呢，我一直在希望把纪录片这样一个片种在现在能够把这个把纪录片这样一个电影的种类能够发挥到一个比较有活力的，或者比较有电影的一种创造力的一种电影的一种形式能发挥出来。
So in the past 20 years of my documentary filming career, I've been trying to make the best use of the genre and the form of documentary to make it more dynamic and more powerful.
所以对我来说，我觉得电影的当电影诞生刚刚开始的时候，我们第一次开始有电影的时候，我觉得电影的很重要的，它还是它的原始的这种艺术的活力，或者说它最重要的对我来说还是记录性。
I'm interested in taking the form of cinema to its most original and the most raw form, and to just document and record people's lives.
所以我做了很多长的纪录片，我的第一部纪录片是叫铁西区，然后都是特别，之后也做了其他的影片，就是都从时间上会非常长的一些影片。
That's also the reason that I've been making films that are of greater length and duration, such as my first film, West of Tracks, and many others following that.
所以这一次我们看到的《Youth》这个片子呢，是我刚刚完成的这个第一部分。我们就在我来美国的时候，我们刚刚在做第2和第3部分，可能很快就在这个月整个这个作品会完成。
So the film Youth that you've seen is just the first part of this entire film, and there's 2 other parts that's in post-production, and I was just doing that before coming to the States.
所以其实在我电影当中有很多普通人的生活，有非常就是说在正常生活状态下的一些普通人，我希望在电影当中能够把他们的故事在他们这种真实的人物的故事，能够在电影当中用电影的形式、电影的美学、电影的能量展现出来。
So I really would like, like in my film, you see the lives of a lot of ordinary people. I'm mostly interested in presenting ordinary people's lives with the form and energy and power of the cinematic form.
虽然说这些电影里边有关于有很强的政治的色彩，这些并不是我电影里边有这种政治的色彩，而是这些人的生活本身是在一个充满政治的这样的一种生活里边，所以我也没办法回避这种政治性。但是呢，其实我个人对政治没有什么兴趣。
So although my films definitely have political implications, but it is not my personal intention to include political content in my film, but it's the lives of the people in my films themselves that are under such political environment.
所以今天有机会，第一次有这样一个机会，能在跟美国的电影的制作人能够在一起。有这样一个见面的机会，我感到非常荣幸。
So I am extremely honored to have an opportunity to come here and meet a lot of great filmmakers and film critics.
谢谢大家，谢谢。
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Faye, for translating.
Hi, I'm Christy Lemire from RogerEbert.com. Yes! And the Breakfast All Day YouTube channel and podcast. Yes, Alonzo, yes, right there. And I'm here tonight to present one of our Supporting Performance Awards to Rachel McAdams for her beautiful work in Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. She used to be a mean girl. Now she's a cool mom. It may be the coolest mom of all, and exactly what young Margaret needs as she's navigating the minefield of adolescence. And a lot of times the supporting performances that get a lot of attention are the big, showy ones. People swoop in, and they steal the show, and they chew the scenery, and that can be a lot of fun, and that can be really exciting in its own way. What Rachel McAdams is doing here, from moment to moment, from scene to scene, feels so true and understated and authentic. It's like she's not even acting. It's like we're watching a regular woman, a wife, a mom, a daughter, as she's trying to make the right decisions and do right by everyone around her at a time of flux. And most importantly, find herself in the middle of it. It's some of the absolute best work of her long and storied career, and I'm thrilled we recognized it here tonight at LAFCA. Unfortunately, Rachel McAdams is not here to hear me say any of this. She is not feeling well, sadly, but I am delighted that Erin Westerman, who is the head of production at Lionsgate, found some time to hang out with us and accept the award on her behalf. So thank you, Erin. Here you go. Thank you for being here. Here you go.
This is heavy. I'm privileged to be here for a lot of reasons. Representing the studio behind the movie, Rachel happens to be a dear friend, but I'm also one of her biggest fans. And she wrote a speech, because who cares what I think? Thank you to the LA Film Critics Association for this honor. And thank you for your love and commitment to all films, big and small, released this year. Your passion lifts us all up. To Lionsgate for bringing this timeless story to a new generation. To Jim Brooks and Julie Ansell at Gracie Films for being tireless champions. To Kelly Fremont Craig, thank you for making a really great film that I feel so lucky to be a part of. To the person who started it all, and without whom the story would not exist, the great Judy Blume. Thank you for writing a book that was about so much more than training bras. But also thank you for writing a book about training bras, because they're kind of a huge deal. To the legendary Kathy, the immensely talented Benny, and the revelatory Abby, my on-screen family. Thank you for playing with and challenging me, and for just being a hoot to be around. And to Davine Joy Randolph, it is an honor to be recognized beside you. You made me weep in my eggnog this holidays, which happens every year, but this year it was your fault. I accept this on behalf of the perfectly imperfect moms everywhere. Thank you for your service.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. I'm Ella Taylor. I'm not the star here. I'm LAFCA Venerable, as a certain Justin Chang calls me. I'll see him outside. In March of 1969, excuse my horrible voice, when I was a student in London, timidly protesting against the repressive state that had given me a free education, free health care, and absolute freedom of speech, the nerve of them. I stepped outside a tube station in London to see a news headline that said that a young Czech man named Jan Palach had set fire to himself in Prague as a protest against the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia. For me, this absolutely haunted me, not only because setting yourself on fire is a terrible way to die, but also because it impressed upon me that there are degrees of evil, and that the counterculture and the resistance movement in Czechoslovakia, in Poland, and all the other countries that were invaded were much higher stakes than anything I had ever had to suffer in my life. That was when I became a fan of Agnieszka Holland, who I'm here to lionize tonight, even though I'd never heard of her, because about 5 decades later, she made a magnificent television series called Burning Bush. If you haven't seen it, you really should. I believe it streams. Am I right, Agnieszka? Yeah. Which is about, it's only marginally about Jan Palach himself, but it's about the fallout in Czechoslovakia from his death. And it's a tale of collaboration and also of protest and enormous courage by a small number of individuals with conscience. And I think it's fair to say that her entire oeuvre, and that includes The Secret Garden, which she, as far as I know, is the only Hollywood movie that she's made. Right. In all of her films, from Europa, which unfairly did not get an Oscar for Best International Film, Angry Harvest, In Darkness, Mr. Jones, and the wickedly inventive recent movie Spoor, Holland marries the personal to the political and to the dilemmas of moral choice when you might be risking your life or career or whatever. None of this is a surprise, given that she grew up with one parent who was an ardent communist, and then I believe an embittered former communist, and the other parent a resistant activist and champion of Jewish refugees from the Holocaust. She celebrates the courage and ingenuity of ordinary, flawed people, even as she warns us that collaboration is not an option and that democracy must constantly be fought for by every one of us, and not just in the voting booth. And now, of course, those high-stakes problems have come to us in the West. So, Agnieszka, even though we are celebrating your whole career here, you're not off the hook. And this is the subject of your next film, I hope. Like so many of her generation of filmmakers from Central and Eastern Europe, among them her mentor, Andrzej Wajda, I'm probably crucifying his name, Krzysztof Kieślowski. She's a master of style as well as of craft, which she deploys to magnificently harrowing effect in her new film, Green Border, which many of you won't have seen yet. It's coming out, I believe, next year, if I'm not mistaken. When? In June of next year. 20, oh, right, yes, we're in 2024. I told you I was venerable. Which takes up the cudgels on behalf of refugees from the Middle East as they are shunted back and forth between Belarus, which wants to make them a political pawn, PAWN, against the EU, and the EU countries where they're seeking safety. That film, which I have seen, is absolutely magnificent. It made her some enemies back home amongst Polish officials. Good for her, and it's a film that absolutely must be seen. I hope that she will tell you about her day at Disneyland, because I don't dare to. You don't need to take my word for any of this, because before she comes up, I would like to introduce you to the venerable actor and incredibly talented actor Ed Harris, who is both a friend of Agnieszka's and also starred in several of her films, among them To Kill a Priest, which I haven't mentioned so far. So come up, Ed, and we're delighted to make this award to Agnieszka.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ella. I tried to find out what was going to be said prior to Ella introducing me about Agnieszka. In other words, what was Ella going to say so that I wouldn't say the same thing? So, if there are certain moments when I, excuse me, So if there are moments when, when I get lost or something, I don't want to repeat some things that she has said. Good evening. It's a privilege to be here tonight. Truly. When I was asked if I would present the Career Achievement Award to Agnieszka, I said yes without hesitation. We have been friends for, oh, thank you. I could have at least used my handkerchief. We've been friends for 35 years. We've shared meals and drink, laughter, good talk. I've witnessed her brilliant daughter Kasia grow from a teenager to a remarkable filmmaker herself. I've been struggling to decide just what to say to honor my dear friend and colleague. I have so much love and respect for her that words don't seem sufficient, but I will do my best. We first met in 1987 at a bar restaurant in New York City. Agnieszka was considering me for a role in her upcoming film. The character was a Polish Secret Service police captain bent on the elimination of Jerzy Papajuszko, who was the pro-Solidarity priest who was murdered by the Polish secret police in 1981. I had known nothing about Agnieszka or her work, so I had watched two of her recent films in preparation for our get-together, A Lonely Woman, which had been banned in Poland for its social criticism and not released for 6 years, and Angry Harvest, which had been nominated for a Best Foreign Language Oscar. I knew I was meeting a formidable film director. So there I was sitting in a booth with this woman, all dressed in black, with a little twinkle in her eyes, and she's looking at me like she knows me better than I know myself. I think she did, actually. We drank a bottle of champagne, smoked a few cigarettes, talked about the film and the character, and then we strolled around Manhattan for a while. The film was To Kill a Priest, and Agnieszka's alternate title was Blood and Shit. We shot the film in Paris. Martial law had been declared in Poland in 1981, so Agnieszka was banned from returning home to her home, but she suggested I go to Warsaw to get a feeling of life there. So I did actually spend a few days there feeling the blanket of repression that hovered over the city. The filming went well, though I do wish that she had warned me about the 3 British actors I was working with, Peter Postlethwaite, Tim Spall, and Tim Roth. And these guys drank me under the table like, one too many nights. But her next film was the masterful Europa, Europa, which was honored with the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film and for which Agnieszka received the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. It had not been chosen by the Oscar German Selection Committee because evidently it upset their sensibilities. She followed Europa, Europa with Olivier, The Secret Garden, Total Eclipse, Washington Square, and then came The Third Miracle, in which Agnieszka offered me the role of a priest, investigating the veracity of the miracles performed by a woman nominated for sainthood. Prior to filming, she said to me, "I need you to be the movie star." I knew exactly what she meant, and I did my best, falling in priestly love with the wonderful late Anne Hesh. About 5 years later, I was in my little study at home when the phone rang. I remember this like it was yesterday. Agnieszka was on the phone, and she asked me if I'd like to play Beethoven. And I started laughing. Seriously. And she said, "No, I'm serious. You can do it." The film was copying Beethoven. No other director would have given me the opportunity. And in doing so, she helped me realize there was no reason to put limitations on the types of characters I could play, that as an actor, if a part scared me, do it. Being directed by Agnieszka is to go on an intimate, personal journey into the unknown, which she guides you on, supports you on, and shares with you. She is obsessed with finding the truth in every single moment of every single film she directs. And she does so with brutal honesty, love, compassion, and courage. I looked up the definition of courageous: the choice and willingness to confront anger, pain, danger, uncertainty, or intimidation. Agnieszka makes that choice with every film she directs. And there's no better example of Agnieszka's fierce determination and courage than her latest film, Green Border. Now, Ellis spoke a little bit about Green Border, but I want to speak a little bit more about it. I'm quoting Wikipedia briefly. In the treacherous and swampy forests that make up the so-called Green Border between Belarus and Poland, refugees from the Middle East and Africa trying to reach the European Union are caught in a geopolitical crisis triggered by Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko. In an attempt to provoke Europe, refugees are lured to the border by propaganda promising any easy passage to the EU. Okay, end of quote. The right-wing Polish government had allowed some refugees to make the crossing early on, but they soon introduced the policy of no, we don't want them, we're not sending any humanitarian aid to them, fuck them. So the refugees suffered harshly, some died, lost in the limbo of uncaring repressive governments. The film was shot in 25 days, quickly and efficiently, because Agnieszka wanted it to be released before the election that fall. The film was publicly denounced in the Polish press. Agnieszka was threatened, had to have bodyguards when in the public, was even attacked in the street at one point. Green Border became the #1 film in Poland leading up to the election. The right-wing Polish government was ousted in the election. Many of the actors were refugees themselves, shot in black and white. The film is so real, so powerful. It's so unflinching in its truthfulness. There is not one false note by any one of the score of the actors in this film. The film is made with artistry and passion, with anger and the fierce determination that Agnieszka brings to her work time and time again. Agnieszka has spent her life telling stories that challenge us, invoke us, provoke us, enlighten us, and move us. She fights for freedom, for justice, for our hearts and minds and souls to give a damn. It's a privilege and an honor to present my magnificent friend, Agnieszka Holland, with the LA Film Critics 2024 Career Achievement Award.
Wow. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Los Angeles Film Critics Associations, to create such a great occasion for me to hear the words from Ella and from Ed, and such a wonderful, important words, which shows you that it's worth it to make a cinema. Because it's worth it to make the cinema if you can really touch people's hearts, souls, consciences, and let them to see and to understand a little more that is in our everyday perspective. And it's also the occasion to be with my best LA friends here, with Jeff, Kathy, Agatha, and Fred, who've been supporting me and helping me during long years of my work. I don't like word career, so let's say work. And without the friends like that, it is impossible to continue, because it's very difficult to be a filmmaker because of the exterior circumstances, but also because of the energy and doubts you have inside of you. I decided to become a film director when I was 15, and I made it after very deliberate thinking and analysis. I was asking myself then, what is really my vocation, and how I want and need to express myself. And I told to myself that the three things which are important to me. It is visual expression. I wanted to be a painter when I was a child. It is to tell the stories, because I had a lot of stories inside of me. And it is to have the power. It means to tell to people what they have to do. And also sometimes, without manipulating, to tell them what they have to feel and to think. So, like 60 years later, and after like about 50 titles, I directed. I don't remember exactly, but yesterday with Agatha we tried to like put it together. I don't feel that I'm like ready to finish yet. And I had a lot of doubts in the last 10 years if the cinema still matters, if it's really meaningful, if it's as important and as it was when I was 15 or 30 or 40, or if it became some kind of the nice, not challenging mediocrity. But tonight when I see Jonathan, when I'm thinking about the film by Justine, when I'm thinking about another films which have been awarded here, I think we are in a really good place. I think that we have still courage, the curiosity, and the feeling of the responsibility that we cannot avoid the subjects and the challenges of the modernity, which are dangerous, cruel, unpleasant, and dangerous. So recently I was reading one sentence of great Russian writer Vasily Grossman, who wrote the novel during the Second World War, just after, the novel called Fate and Destiny. And it's one sentence which became, since when I read it recently, some kind of the credo to me. The war is not the battle between the bad and good. The war is the battle between enormous amount of bad and the little grain of good which remains, survives in the human soul. But as long as this little grain of good survives, the bad, the evil cannot prevail. So let's cultivate that little grain of good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Manuel Betancourt. I'm a LA film critic, obviously. I feel incredibly humbled and honored to be presenting our Best Screenplay Award to Andrew Haigh for his beautifully haunting and hauntingly beautiful, All of Us Strangers. Robert mentioned at the start of the evening that this is one of those cry movies. And I'll admit I may choke up a bit as I talk about it up here, because it so floored me when I watched it the first time, and the second time, and the third time. It reduced me to tears, tears of sadness, and shame, and regret, and nostalgia, and all of those thorny emotional knots many of us queer men grow up festering and neutralizing within us, but also tears of a kind of warm, honeyed gaiety in all senses of the word. Haig's film, adapted from Taichi Yamada's novel Strangers, is an improbable proposition. Adam, a lonely gay man in London, played with heartfelt candor by Andrew Scott, finds himself connecting on the one hand with a mysterious, flirty stranger in his building, and on the other, in his childhood home, with a youthful version of his parents whom he'd lost decades ago. There's a heart-rending grace in how Haig sketches out Adam's childlike wonder when he confronted with those lost parents now found, and with that sought-after partner he's now stumbled on. There's a wildly ambitious meditation on contemporary gay life in Adam's story. In this, All of Us Strangers is a modern queer fable. It is a ghost story about the grief we carry with us, and a love story about the ghosts we cannot seem to leave behind. It's also the film that will forever make you weep the moment the power of love comes on. So please, before I become a blubbering mess once more, join me in celebrating Andrew Haig, the writer-director of All of Us Strangers.
Thank you so much. That was really sweet and kind. This wasn't an easy film to write, and I think whenever you try and go to a very personal place, the stakes feel so much higher somehow. And when we were getting ready to release the film and putting it out into the world, I felt so sick to my stomach that it was actually going to be out there in the world. And I was nervous, obviously, about the reaction, but also we all know what it's like sometimes when you can make a film and it just sort of disappears into the ether and gets unseen. And who I really want to thank, actually, so many people in this room, a lot of critics and writers who have so passionately supported the film. They've spoken about it to their friends and their colleagues. They've done Q&As with me and interviews, and they've written so eloquently about the film. And that really has sort of meant the world, I think, to me, and it's helped the film enormously getting out there into the world, but also for me personally. I think that something by a critic that seems to understand the film in a way that you quite realized, does that work? It sort of allows you to understand your own film in a different way, and that actually is really, really important somehow. I also want to thank my good friend and editor, Jonathan Alberts, over there, who was the runner-up tonight in the editing category. The writing process never ends, and I think lots of us know when you get into the edit, new problems arise. And it's very special to have a trusted collaborator that can work through that with you to find the answers. And finally, I just want to say that I was, when I was a kid, living in the house that we shot in, that is now in the film, the idea that this would ever be my life or could be my life, and I would make films like this about myself and about the way I see the world, would have felt so insane to me. So this actually really does mean quite a lot. So thank you very much. Thanks. Cheers.
Good evening. I'm Justin Chang, and I'm here to... Thank you so much. I'm here to present our second award for Best Lead Performance. Before I do, forgive my indulgence, a quick story. A few years ago, I was on a film festival jury. One of the movies we saw was Wang Xiaoshuai's devastating film, So Long, My Son, which just completely destroyed me. So the credits are rolling. I'm sitting there with tears just streaming down my face after having ugly cried through the entire third act. One of my fellow jurors, who's an actor, gets up, comes over, and looks at me. She bends over and she grins with this grin of just purest delight on her face. And she says, "A critic crying. This is the greatest moment in history." And I tell this story because that juror, that actor, was Sandra Hüller, whom we celebrate this evening. It was an honor to present awards with her years ago. It's an honor to present this award to her now. If you've seen Sandra Hüller's work in earlier films like Requiem or the amazing Toni Erdmann, you know that she is no stranger to emotional complexity, to the wildest and most piercing extremes of human experience. Tonight, she joins the ranks of actors including Jane Fonda, Kathleen Turner, Jack Nicholson, Angelica Houston, Michael Fassbender, and Isabelle Huppert, who've received a LAFCA Lead Acting Prize for multiple performances in a given year. In 2023, Hüller played two very different women, one drawn from the imagination, the other ripped from the darkest pages of history. And what's fascinating is that it feels like these two characters, and indeed these two movies, have been in conversation with each other for some months. Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest won the top two prizes at Cannes last year, and they meet again this evening as our two most honored films tonight. You might say, too, that they both tell the story of, to put it mildly, an extremely fucked up marriage. In Anatomy of a Fall, Hüller plays a novelist, also named Sandra, whose insistence that she didn't kill her husband might be her single most dazzling fiction. The genius of Hüller's fiercely intelligent performance is the way she blurs and confounds our notions of blame and responsibility. Sandra may not be guilty, but somehow it doesn't feel right to call her innocent. Positioning and repositioning herself under the shifting gaze of Justine Trier's camera, she reminds us that brilliant women, especially wives and mothers, are seldom afforded the benefit of a reasonable doubt. Contrast this with the chilling indictment laid out in Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest, in which Hüller becomes the loathsome and terrifying embodiment of Hedwig Höss, a Nazi housewife complicit in her husband's crimes at Auschwitz. Hüller doesn't fall into the trap of trying to quote-unquote humanize the character. She takes Hedwig's humanity and her monstrosity as a given. Not for the first time in her career, Hüller is unafraid to show us what human beings can be at their worst, and also what acting can be at its very best. Sandra Hüller couldn't be here with us tonight, but she has left us an acceptance video. Congratulations to our winner for Best Lead Performance.
Good evening, everyone in Los Angeles. Dear Los Angeles film critics and all the guests who are there, also all the members of the teams that I've worked with. This is really exciting, and I'm so grateful for this recognition, because sometimes when you work, you know that something is different than the other times, but not so many people see it, and this time it is seen and recognized, and that makes, I think I can speak for all of us, makes us really, really happy. So thank you for this. It really means a lot, and I can only also thank Jonathan. I know you're there. I hope we meet one day again. I don't know what are you doing all the time? Thanks to Justine, who's not there, and Laurent Sénéchal, who has picked the good parts of the work. Also, I would like to say, hi, Emma. That's kind of, it's more than I could ever dream of, to be mentioned alongside you. I hope we meet. I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and hopefully see you soon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Aguilar. I'm a film critic out of LA. Thank you. And I'm here tonight to present our award for New Generation, which celebrates a filmmaker, a new filmmaker that is sort of making waves in the film industry for the first time. And we have an incredible winner tonight. There's a moment late in the movie Past Lives where a husband and a wife about to go to sleep discuss profound topics in the casual setting of their bedroom's intimacy. The husband wishes he could understand his wife's first language in order to access a part of her that he doesn't know and he may never know. At the same time, the wife is contemplating the version of herself that no longer exists, but that serves as the foundation for the person that she has become. That's the brilliance of Celine Song's first feature. It concerns major existential questions, but never observed with an intellectual distance, but rather a deftly humanist curiosity. Song looks at how those philosophical inquiries about who we are, who we were, and who we never became affect our present and our relationships with the people that we love most, but most importantly, with ourselves. More than a romance, I think, Past Lives is an introspective ode to self-discovery across time and across continents and languages. That's perhaps why the movie speaks so intensely to those of us who have migrated from the places we once called home to build a life somewhere else, and in a sense, as different people. By the time Nora, the wife in the scene I've just described, and Hae Song, her childhood friend, say goodbye to each other as adults in the streets of New York City, the weight of everything that Song has explored for the previous 2 hours comes down on us, the audience, with such emotional force, it might even bring us to tears, just like it does Nora. For that and for many other reasons, it's my great pleasure to present the New Generation Award to Celine Song.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Alafka, for this incredible honor, and thank you, Carlos, for such beautiful introduction. I knew you'd be beautiful, so I wrote it. I wrote that it was going to be beautiful. It was really beautiful, and I knew it would be, and it is. So I am so grateful for the incredible piece you wrote for the LA Times in the Bellows section called How Past Lives Resonates with My Mexican Bicultural Experience. It made me feel so seen and so much less alone, and like we've made a movie that someone needed. It's this kind of beautiful, deep, and intelligent writing from you guys that allow for an independent film like Past Lives to reach its passionate and fiercely loving audience. Since the world premiere at Sundance, through the national and global release, and finally here and now, we couldn't have had the incredible run we've had without your early, passionate, and consistent support. So you're the reason I'm standing here on this stage in more ways than one. I'm so happy and honored to be receiving the New Generation Award from LAFCA because discovering filmmaking was a totally life-changing experience for me as a person and an artist, and I'm just so excited to keep making movies. I want to thank everyone who agreed to make Past Lives with me, our guardian angels at A24, my legendary producers Christine Vachon, Pam Koffler, and David Hinojosa, who let me, Past Lives, be a part of their incredible 35-year-long legacy of independent cinema. And my brilliant cast, Greta Lee, Teo Yu, and John Magaro, whose talent and work ethic moved me to tears every day. And my crew who believed in this film with their whole bodies and souls. I wouldn't be standing here without them. So Past Lives is a movie that was inspired by my own life, and it's about many things. First love, lives not lived, growing up, letting go of, and making space for all the many versions of a self, past and present, that exist inside every one of us. But most importantly, it's about the way that we are all connected just by being in the same room at the same time, by a love that doesn't have a label. Thank you all for letting us share what it feels like to be human, to feel very small and very big, and to contain multitudes, and yet be rooted beautifully to one particular spot in space and time. Thank you for loving our film. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm still Leonard Maltin. And I am delighted to be presenting the Best Supporting Performance Award tonight to Davine Joy Randolph for her beautiful interpretation of a beautifully written role in Alexander Payne's The Holdovers. I first became aware of her not at the very beginning of her journey as an actor, but a little bit in. It was Dolomite Is My Name, where she stood toe-to-toe with Eddie Murphy, and I was like, well, who is this woman? I couldn't take my eyes off of her when I was watching the film, and I couldn't stop thinking about her afterwards. And of course, since then, she's done so many different things. She turns up on television, she turns up on the big screen, and I look forward to every one of those performances. I look forward to seeing what she has coming up next. But we can always return to this role. Robert talked at the beginning of the evening about seeing movies more than once. I rarely get to see films twice, but I got to see The Holdovers a second time. And it moved me even more than my first exposure to it. It felt deeper, richer. It's that kind of film. There's a lot built into it. And it's a perfect collaboration of great writing, sensitive directing, and beautiful acting. And it's for that reason that I'm glad that LAFCA agreed with me and voted Davine Joy Randolph Best Supporting Performance of the Year.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Los Angeles Film Critics Association for this incredible honor. Thank you to Leonard for your so kind words. When I first began this journey with Holdovers, I had no idea how many beautiful moments and people it would bring into my life. It was a night like this, surrounded by such ardent supporters and lovers of film, that I'm reminded why I do what I do. Movies like The Holdovers are possible thanks to you people that are here in this room today. Alexander Payne, Paul, and Dominic, I am so grateful for their patience, their care, and their talent. And I would weather, my assistant wrote this part, so this part's not true. I would weather 100 Boston winters to work with them again. No. This part I wrote. And of course, thank you to my Mary Lamb. Thank you for being the most rewarding role as of yet in my career and the greatest teacher and actor that I could ask for. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Grierson, and thank you. I am beyond flattered, honored, and privileged tonight to give our Best Director honor to Jonathan Glazer for the zone of interest. Much has been made of the fact that writer-director Jonathan Glazer spent 10 years working on the zone of interest. But I would argue that it feels like a lifetime has been poured into this astonishing film. A lifetime of artistic growth and soul-searching. A lifetime of witnessing the horror of history repeat. Is set during the Holocaust, but it speaks to the present. It is an achievement that required every part of him. This monumental films, Glazer has forged a career that defies easy categorization. First, what is clear is that what we are accustomed to marvel or be terrified by the world just below the surface, to look blinking at what's been there the whole time. I don't care if the microphone goes in and out. I actually have a lot that I want to say about this movie. In the zone of interest, presents fascism, family. I rarely get direction at these events. Let's try that. In the zone of interest, Glazer presents fascism as a family affair, complete with the idyllic home, the wife and kids, the prestigious job. We don't simply watch Rudolph and Hedwig. We inspect them. Their focus on status is a nightmare mirror of our own petty cravings for comfort and security at the expense of others. Evil is not extraordinary, Glazer tells us. In fact, it's frighteningly common, and we are all susceptible to the virus. That's why he agonized over his masterpiece. The preciseness of tone, the rejection of cliches, the formulation of an ingenious shooting style that indicts rather than glamorizes. It took sensitivity, it took anger, it took sorrow, it took courage. The zone of interest is a work of profound moral seriousness. It is also a work of art. It took him a lifetime. May we not take that long to heed its warnings or fully absorb its terrible power. Please join me in congratulating our winner for Best Director, Mr. Jonathan Glazer.
Good evening, everybody. Tim, thank you very much for those kind words, and I hope to live up to them. Thank you. I'm going to read. I'm not very good. I'll just be rude if I improvise. I'm going to read. Forgive me. Thank you, Tim. As I said, my thanks to the Los Angeles film critics for this huge honor. I share it, of course, with my close film family and my family who carry me shoulder high this evening. A first assistant director I worked with once, we were discussing film crews and the fact that wherever you shoot in the world, you sort of know who's who on a film crew. It's a very particular personality of film crew. And he said that it was, a film crew is half military and half circus. And I'm privileged to be able to share this accolade with three of my most treasured and loved clowns who are here with me this evening: producer Jim Wilson, production designer Chris Oddy, and sound designer Johnny Byrne. To be able to think and work together the way we do over more than 2 decades is an enormous privilege for me, and I really am indebted. My profound thanks to Martin Amis for entrusting me with his book. My gratitude to A24, to Film 4 and Access for their wise heads and for walking the walk. To Dr. Piotr Sawinski, who's the director of the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, for his unwavering support and guidance. And my eternal thanks to Alexandra Bistron Kolaridze-Jacek, who glows in the film the way she did in life, for reminding me that there is also light. Obviously, the events in the film predate the abominations of these current conflicts by years, but the questions it poses are the same. To ask ourselves to have a genuine human response, to ask ourselves why one life can be considered more valuable than another. Human pain is pain and loss is loss, and at their most basic or fundamental, the needs and desires of any of us are the same. Violence and oppression of any kind produces more violence and more oppression, not less. The Telegraph film critic Robbie Collins, one of your own, said it better in his review than I ever could. He said, "It's not look at what they did, it's look at what we do." My thanks.
I'm afraid of this microphone. Hi, I'm Claudia Puig, and thanks. I am delighted to present LAFCA's award for Best Film Not in the English Language. Anatomy of a Fall overwhelms and dazzles us from the earliest scenes. The steel drum cover of a 50 Cent song is interrupted by cacophonous clomping and augmented by a buzzing power tool. Our nerves are jangled in the best way, and we're drawn in immediately. With its deft writing, haunting performances, and a courtroom drama that keeps you spellbound and consistently off balance, Anatomy of a Fall is sheer perfection. Easily one of the best films of the year in any language, writer-director Justine Triet's absorbing drama is not just about whether a fatal fall was a murder, a suicide, or an accident. It delves into the power dynamics of a complicated marriage. The movie is a study in the unknowability of other people's relationships. Triet masterfully examines the depths and contours of family bonds, intensified by Sandra Hüller's unforgettable lead performance, and also that of young Milo Machado Graner, who sensitively plays her 11-year-old son, Daniel. Right? So great. She creates a brilliant puzzle that feels just a piece or two from coming into view, and that's what keeps us riveted. And you have to love a movie that holds a press conference with the family's border collie. And just like in that press conference, a key member of the on-screen family in Anatomy of a Fall has a message to convey to us. So, there he is. This moment we're had at LAFCA.
I'm back. It's not about the triumph of the human spirit. It's not about the audacity of evil either. It's not about these people being good and these people being bad. It's not history as a showpiece. It's not a war film or a biopic or a message movie or a chance to blame the past in order to make the present look better. So what is The Zone of Interest? This film about a family, about a Nazi family at the walls of Auschwitz, making it run. This time of ours spent with people going about their lives in hell's well-appointed waiting rooms. Maybe the better way to consider writer-director Jonathan Glazer's and producer James Wilson's and producer Eva Puchinska's movie, extraordinarily unsettling movie, is who are you when you experience it? What do you think about? What do you realize you aren't thinking about? No movie has ever felt, to me, so real about removing ourselves from the real. This is a film that doesn't have to explain anything for us to be aware of everything. What its visuals never show, while its sounds paint nightmares in our head. What the people in it are talking about that conjures all that is not being said. We know what it's not. But what this brilliantly icy movie about our eternal disconnect is the LA Film Critics' Best Picture of 2023, The Zone of Interest.
Thank you. I'll get that off to you. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. Feels like, I mean, this is how it works, but it feels like John should be up here, really. It feels a bit strange, but he's down there. Yeah, thanks, everyone. Filmmakers often talk about being recognized by their peers, but it means a lot to be thought of by people who write seriously about cinema. Reading, film criticism, and theory went hand in hand with watching film in my education as a cinephile. And I know for John too, steeped in his dad's sight and sound collection, which I think you have in your home now. It's important. An intention of the Zone of Interest is to open spaces in which to think. And we've been so interested and grateful for the ways you've thought about it in your writing. Thank you, Robert, and Tim, I don't know where you are, but that was amazing. Thanks to our partners in making and launching the film, A24, our family, we did Under the Skin with these guys. I don't know what to say, really. I've done so, you know, we know each other so well. Amazing. Film 42, Access, and the Polish Film Institute. Their patience and confidence gave us the time and freedom to explore and express. We all know the huge amount of people it takes to make a film. I counted 550 on the credits today. So Best Picture includes the work of all of them, clearly not just me. Artists, actors, technicians, craftspeople, executives, lawyers in Britain, Poland, and Germany. We took our ideas and our work back and forth across those borders. Tonight we can only thank all of them as a group, but to single out a few. You've seen and heard from Johnny Byrne and about Mika's score and his sound design. Huge thanks and credit to Chris Oddy, the film's production designer, who's sat there next to John, who with his team made the quite extraordinarily complete and real house and garden built and cultivated over 5 months on an empty piece of scrubland right next to Auschwitz, which is at the heart of the film's ideas and its practice. Thanks to cinematographer Lucas Jal, who left every comfort zone any DP has ever had to fully embrace a new way of shooting with 10 unmanned cameras shooting simultaneously. Thanks to editor Paul Watts, our great friend and family member, for his mind-boggling diligence and skill editing the 800 hours of rushes from all of those 10 cameras. The film was completely reimagined and remade in editing, as Andrew talked about that. To costume designer Gosha Karpuk for the exactness of her clothes, always looking for the truth, never fetishizing, and for that white suit. Thanks, of course, to Christian Friedel and Sandra Huller, who you saw earlier, who were fearless and open. Huge thanks to my producer partner, Eva Buczynska, who navigated the shooting in Poland, and our co-producer and John and my friend, Bartek Rainsky. But all of us assembled behind and because of John, the writer and director, clown-in-chief, I guess, my collaborator in film and dear friend, 6 years. That's why we're here right now. I thought they'd be standing behind me, so I bet that's why. A24 said that it's just me. I do what they say. That's why we're here in this room right now. And it's to John whom an award for the picture must really go. The buck stops and starts with his imagination and his virtuosity. It's always an education and an adventure. Another of those collaborators, a script advisor we worked with for a period during the writing, Franz Rodenkirchen, in discussing John's first draft of the script, said to us, perhaps what your film is asking is not how could these ordinary people do such terrible things, but rather how much like them are we? It was a crystallizing question. It's starkly clear that our empathy is selective, that we care more about the safety, freedom, life of certain innocent people more than of other innocent people. Not just our friends and family, obviously, but socially. Thinking about who is excluded from our empathy feels important. Who is over our wall and why? There's about a dozen existing photographs of Rudolph and Hedwig's family garden that we used in our research, both to write the script and also for Chris and his team to recreate the house and garden authentically, which we did right next to the Auschwitz. In the photographs, you see everything: the paddling pool, the slide, the greenhouse, the pagoda, the toys in the garden, all the nice things. But you never see the wall that abuts the camp, behind which are the prisoners, the victims. The photographer of those snapshots, probably Rudolph, is always pointing the camera away from that wall. Another great collaborator of ours, Rachel Penfold, our VFX producer, and John's wife, said it was our job to look that way. Thank you.
It's convenient that I'm up here so I can say goodnight to everyone and thank you for coming and start your rewatching.